There has been a nuclear accident in the Soviet Union, and the Soviets have admitted that it happened. The Soviet version is this.
Can you imagine how a quiet night in April turned into a nightmare that eclipsed even the horrors of Hiroshima? It was the night of April 26, 1986, when the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant in the Soviet Union became the epicenter of a catastrophe that would change the course of history. 37 years ago, something terrible happened at the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant. A big accident caused the reactor to break, releasing a lot of dangerous stuff into the air. It was really bad, so bad that the people had to leave their homes and move away. Even today, the area around Chernobyl is still empty because it's too dangerous for people to live there. The Chernobyl accident was like a big mix-up of mistakes and problems. It was the worst nuclear disaster ever, way worse than when the atomic bomb exploded in Hiroshima. Inside the reactor, things got too hot and everything started melting and exploding. The melted stuff even went deeper into the power plant. But here's something surprising. All that melted stuff turned into something called tiny zircons. These zircons are helping scientists learn new things about how crystals work and what they can tell us about the Earth's history. The night of April 26, 1986. Picture this scene. The Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant, located in the Soviet Union, nestled near the city of Chernobyl. It was the early hours of April 26, 1986, a night that would forever be etched in history. Inside the plant, reactor number 4 hummed with activity, manned by dedicated workers entrusted with its operation. But as the clock ticked towards disaster, tension filled the air. Suddenly, trouble struck. Reactor number 4 faltered, sending shockwaves of panic through the control room. Frantically, workers scrambled to regain control, their shouts echoing against the walls as they battled a situation spiraling out of hand. But their efforts were in vain. In a blinding flash, an explosion ripped through the plant, shattering the stillness of the night and marking the beginning of a catastrophe unlike any the world had ever seen before. The magnitude of the event was yet to be fully understood. As dawn broke over the horizon, the extent of the devastation slowly became apparent. What started as a routine night shift had transformed into a nightmare of unimaginable proportions. The Chernobyl disaster had begun. The deadly dance of corium. Have you ever heard of molten reactor material, often called corium? It might sound like something out of a science fiction movie, but it's actually one of the most dangerous substances on Earth. Consider a super-hot, molten material that can kill you within minutes if you get too close. That's corium for you. Corium is not only scorching hot, but it also generates its own heat, making it nearly impossible to cool down. At Chernobyl, the corium reached a mind-boggling temperature of 2,600 degrees Celsius, hotter than the surface of the sun. This fiery beast can dissolve anything in its path, from steel to concrete, leaving behind a trail of destruction. As if that weren't enough, corium can also transform water into radioactive steam in the blink of an eye. It's like a relentless force of nature, devouring everything in its way. During the Chernobyl disaster, an estimated 1,500 tons of corium flowed like lava, eating through layers of concrete in the power plant's basement. Eventually, this ferocious substance solidified into a grotesque formation known as the elephant's foot, resembling the foot of a massive beast. But the danger didn't stop there. A second explosion was narrowly avoided, highlighting the destructive power of corium and the catastrophic consequences of nuclear accidents. Zircon, nature's time capsule. Now let's shift our focus to zircon, a mineral with an interesting story to tell. Zirconium, silicon, and oxygen come together to form zircons, tiny crystals about as thin as a human hair. Geologists are particularly fond of zircon because it holds clues about the Earth's history, revealing when rocks formed and the geological processes that shaped them. But what makes the zircons from Chernobyl so special? Well, these crystals provide a unique window into the conditions of their formation, offering insights that would be impossible to replicate in a laboratory. Unlike zircons from natural rocks, which have complex histories, those from Chernobyl offer a more straightforward narrative. The Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant. Rewind to the early 1970s, when the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant was considered as an example of Soviet technological prowess. Its 4 RBMK-1000 nuclear reactors were marvels of engineering, capable of meeting a significant portion of Ukraine's electricity needs. Situated proudly near the city that bore its name, the plant symbolized progress and modernization. However, beneath the facade of ambition lurked a fatal flaw. The design of the RBMK reactors, while powerful, was inherently unstable under certain conditions. This flaw would prove to be the catalyst for the Chernobyl disaster, transforming the plant from a symbol of progress into a site of unimaginable tragedy. Understanding the RBMK reactors. To comprehend the events of that fateful night, one must understand the workings of the RBMK reactors. Unlike their counterparts in the West, these reactors relied on a design that prioritized power output over safety. Control rods, meant to regulate the nuclear reaction, were tipped with graphite, a material that had the unintended effect of exacerbating instability under certain conditions. On the night of April 26th, a combination of factors, including a flawed safety test and operator error, led to a catastrophic chain reaction. As the reactor spiraled out of control, the stage was set for the worst nuclear disaster in history. The fallout, impact, and aftermath. It wasn't just any explosion, it was the catastrophic meltdown of reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant. The fallout from this disaster wasn't just immediate, it was far-reaching and long-lasting, casting a shadow over the lives of millions. In the chaotic aftermath, brave firefighters and plant workers risked their lives battling fires and radiation leaks. Their heroism was the first line of defense against an invisible enemy that threatened to spread death and destruction far and wide. But the true horror was yet to come. In the days, weeks, and months following the meltdown, the full scale of the disaster became painfully clear. Thousands of people fell victim to the insidious effects of radiation sickness, their bodies consumed by an enemy they couldn't see or fight. It was a silent killer lurking in the air, the water, and the soil. Entire communities were torn apart as the radiation forced people to abandon their homes, their possessions, and their way of life. Imagine being forced to leave behind everything you've ever known, knowing that returning could mean certain death. And then there was the environmental impact. The once thriving landscape surrounding Chernobyl was transformed into a wasteland, poisoned by radiation. Wildlife struggled to survive in this hostile environment, their populations dwindling as they faced a silent but deadly threat. But amidst the devastation, there were stories of resilience and hope. Brave scientists and volunteers risked their own safety to study the effects of the disaster and clean up contaminated areas. Their efforts would pave the way for future generations to learn from the mistakes of the past and ensure that such a tragedy would never happen again. The fallout from Chernobyl was more than just radioactive particles in the air. It was a wake-up call to the world about the dangers of nuclear power and the importance of prioritizing safety above all else. And as we reflect on the legacy of Chernobyl, let us remember the lives lost and the lessons learned, so that we may never forget the human cost of unchecked ambition. Lessons learned. In the wake of Chernobyl, the world was forced to confront the dangers of nuclear power in a way it never had before. The disaster sparked a global conversation about reactor safety, leading to sweeping reforms and new regulations designed to prevent a similar tragedy from ever occurring again. But Chernobyl was more than just a cautionary tale. It was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. In the face of unimaginable adversity, brave men and women risked their lives to contain the fallout and protect their fellow citizens. Their heroism serves as a reminder that even in our darkest hour, hope endures. Today, the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant stands as a haunting reminder of the fragility of human ambition. Its ruined shell serves as a silent testament to the lives lost and the communities shattered by one fateful night. But amidst the ruins, there is also hope. Hope for a future where the lessons of Chernobyl are never forgotten and where the power of human resilience triumphs over even the greatest of tragedies. If you like this video and want to see more tragic incidents in history like these, subscribe to our channel Tales of Tragedy and watch our other videos as well.